girls' night turned wild when I danced with the club owner, came home to find everything gone. I left for a night of fun and came back to a home that didn't exist anymore. It felt like a film trick, but it was real. I lost everything after a wild night. This is not how I ever envisioned my life or anything to turn out. I'm so devastated right now, and I need advice on how to carry on. I need to fix what I've broken. My name is Anna, and I've been together with Peter for 3 years now, but I'm not sure about us anymore. It's so heartbreaking to even think about it because I never imagined such thought would ever come to mind. I don't want to believe that this is the end of us because that can never be possible. He promised me forever, so I am sure this is a prank and things will eventually return to how they used to be, because how do I begin to imagine that it's all gone? No, I don't want to believe that everything is gone, and I don't understand why it is that way. So that's why I am here to seek any piece of advice that can help or comfort me that this is a joke and everything is all right. So here is how it all started. Peter had left me at home that day after we had our breakfast together to catch up with a wedding of his acquaintance in another town. It was going to be a long trip, so he was in such a hurry that morning, and he had told me he might not be able to make it back home that same day. He assured me he was going to be home the next day, and I shouldn't miss him so much. His words were sweet, just like our love for each other, and I'd never imagined that was going to be the last time I'd get to see Peter's smile and feel such warmth from him again. After Peter left, I logged into my social media account and messaged my friends in our group chat that I was bored. My fiancé had just left town and wouldn't be back until tomorrow night. As soon as they got my message, my 5 friends started replying with their usual advice and jokes. We were all chatty and quickly got caught up in a lively conversation, and I was oblivious to what the night had in store for me. Some of them even left sarcastic comments, teasing me about trying to make them jealous since they were all single and hadn't had serious relationships yet. We all had a good laugh about it. Diana, one of my friends, mentioned that her relationship was approaching its 5-year mark, but there was no ring in sight. In contrast, my own relationship was only 3 years old, and I was set to walk down the aisle the following week. We teased Diana, joking that she didn't need a ring anymore. She was practically married already. We teased her, saying it was time she gave us some kids. The conversation turned to advice, with one of us jokingly suggesting that if her partner didn't want to buy her a ring, she should just get one herself. We all erupted in laughter, and the day was going smoothly, just like our usual get-togethers. That's when Jessica dropped a message, proposing that we have one last hangout before my wedding. She suggested, since I was the first to get married among us, we should go all out and have a girls' night to celebrate my upcoming wedding. The idea sounded like a blast, and everyone was immediately on board. Diana said it had been so long since we all went out together, just us, and she was totally in support of the idea. It was going to be my last chance to have fun before marriage, since, as they always said, married life comes with a lot of boundaries, and I'd never have an opportunity or a taste of such happiness like that again, especially with my fiancé's personality. Diana wasn't completely wrong. Peter wasn't the kind to prioritize fun and outings that much, so their suggestions made me see it as my last golden opportunity. They even joked that it felt like they were marrying me off into the priesthood, and I started feeling like I should give the all-girls night party a chance. Sandra, one of my friends, warned me, saying if Peter wasn't going to like the idea, I shouldn't stress over it and just forget about the party, especially since my wedding was next week and we'd all still see each other since that was the point of the party. But Diana had nagged her, saying she was always so boring and a killjoy, and there was nothing wrong with having a little fun. Maybe I should have thought about Peter's feelings first and skipped it. Then, maybe, just maybe, I wouldn't be in this mess right now. The argument about the party went on, and just like that, we had to go for the easy way out like we always did, and that was for us to vote about it. And just like that, the rule of the majority played in, and that was how I found myself in a club that night. Sandra had complained so much since we arrived, saying the party wasn't what we talked about and it was supposed to be a simple get-together. But then Jessica had prepared a party that felt almost like a night for people that wanted to get loose, have a one-night stand, and get over with their problem, or a party fit for the singles that want to go all in with nothing to lose. Jessica defended that there was nothing wrong with the party, and we were all single since we were not married yet, so there wasn't any harm in being free just for that night. The rest of us agreed with her point, and just like that, we all went crazy. I was partying and shaking like a lunatic. My friends were not helping either, as their hyping and cheers kept pushing me to new and crazier levels, and I kept unleashing a side of me that I never knew I had. We were on cloud 9 that night, and I'd never had such fun before in my whole life. I feel it was just the same experience for my friends too, because everyone was high and tipsy except Jessica. She said one person still had to stay normal to keep everyone in check and take us all home later. Sandra was such a lightweight, and she was already sprawled out on the couch. We all laughed and made fun of her, and one of my friends even made a comment saying she would be a perfect match for a guy like my fiancé, Peter, as he always valued perfection, and were so organized. We all laughed it off, and the fun continued. The club owner also joined us, and on hearing the party was like a send-off for me since I was getting married, he gave us free drinks and let us have the club to ourselves, and just like that, it was like more fuel was added to the already burning fire, and we all exploded. We woke up at noon the next day to find ourselves at Diana's apartment. We could barely remember everything that went on that night, and we all had a serious hangover. Jessica had fixed us something to eat, and the moment we were done freshening up, we all gathered at the table to eat while teasing each other with the memories we could recall and laughing about everything. My smile and joy remained the same until I got a call from my mom. She said she had stopped by to visit me and my fiancé, but no one was home, and the door to my home was open, and things were a mess, and it looked like I had been robbed. I sprang to my feet on hearing her words, and I told her to wait, that I was on my way home. When I dropped the call, I met my friends' curious faces, and Sandra asked me what the problem was. My breathing was ragged, and my heart was thumping hard as I struggled to tell them the news. I told them I was so scared, and I had no idea how I was going to explain the situation to Peter. How on earth was I going to tell him we got robbed, and how do I explain my absence from our home that night? Esther, one of us, assured me everything was going to be fine, and that I should try to relax since they were all here to help me out. In an instant, we were all downstairs, and Fiona, the last of us, quickly got into Diana's car, and after we all got in, she drove us to my home. The minute we arrived, I rushed into the house in a flash, and the house was a mess, just like how my mom described. A lot of stuff was missing. Our sofa, TV, and tables. The house was almost empty. We all stood lost and confused as I couldn't understand the situation. Did I really get robbed? Or was this some mind-blowing thriller series where I was the lead role? I kept asking myself useless questions and having diverse thoughts, but nothing seemed to make sense. Everything was just so dazed and disoriented. Sandra decided to ask my neighbors about it in case one of them might have seen the thief that broke in, and I rushed upstairs to check and figure out what else was stolen, so I could start coming up with ways to get myself out of the mess I was in. The rest of my friends started assembling what was left together, as the house was an eyesore, when they suddenly heard my scream from upstairs. They immediately hurried upstairs to my room, and their eyes were all alarmed with fear and defense weapons in their hands, only to find me sitting on the floor in front of an empty wardrobe. Fiona slowly dropped the stick she had in hand and quickly rushed to my side, asking what the hell was happening. It felt like a hurricane had hit us, and we were left scattered, not knowing how to join the pieces back until Sandra dashed in and dropped the real bomb. The so-called thief we thought had attacked was my fiancé, Peter. She had spoken to my neighbors, and they all confirmed that Peter had been packing since dawn, and they actually thought we were moving to a new home since our wedding was next week. I almost fainted when I heard the news. Finally, everything fell into place, and all the loose ends were tied up. It made sense why only my stuff was left in the room, and every other thing that belonged to Peter was missing. Everything else that belonged to him was gone, except for the things I had bought for him with my own money, or the items we had picked out together and chose to split and buy just for the sake of memories. I couldn't laugh or cry, I just didn't know how to react. My mind was all over the place, and I couldn't figure out what went wrong. We were supposed to get married in a week. Our relationship was still full of that exciting, fluttering feeling of love, and I'd never suspected him of having an affair outside our relationship. Peter was loyal and such a perfectionist. He would never want a stain on his reputation, so cheating was out of the question. Diana kept telling me I might just be wrong and men were never to be trusted. She said Peter might have just left to be with someone else, and she was saying it out of experience. She said that even though she and her man had been together for 5 years, she'd caught him cheating several times, but she just let it slide. She believed that it was just something men did, and she sometimes felt that might be the reason her man still hadn't committed to her. Sandra had disagreed, saying she doubted that was the case for Peter, and she believed something had really gone wrong. My mother kept hitting me and scolding me, and all my friends could do was try to calm her down and separate us from getting into a heated argument. Fiona and Esther took my mom home while Jessica and Diana stayed behind to help me feel better, but no, it wasn't working. My heart felt like it was being laid on a chopping wood and being cut into different pieces. I started crying and I just couldn't accept everything that happened. I can't believe I went out for a girls' night party only to come back to an empty home and my fiancé had vanished. I tried calling him and texting him, but I just couldn't get to him. My friends and mom kept trying too, but it was as if someone like that never existed before. He was totally gone. Jessica asked me to stay with her, and my friends agreed, saying they were not comfortable with the thought of me living in the house alone. But I insisted I wasn't going to leave, that I was going to wait until Peter returned, and I didn't want him to come home, and I was missing again for the second time. My friends understood I was hurting, and they all decided to stay with me too. They got their stuff in turns, and just like that, all 6 of us were together, and they did their best trying to console me. I kept regretting why I had left for the party that night. If truly Peter was cheating on me and he had left me to be with someone else, if I was at home that day, at least we would have had a decent breakup, and I would know everything was completely gone. But his sudden disappearance has left a comma between us, as I can see no end or continuation, and I just find myself waiting for him. Where did it all go wrong? How do I go forward now? I need advice because I don't know what else to do anymore. My friends are just as confused and lost, and we don't know how else to solve this. I decided to come on this platform to share my story, and if someone can help me. I can't wrap my head around why Peter left. I need my fiancé back. My wedding is in a few days, and I don't know what else to do anymore. How do I escape this? How do I make everything go back to normal? Update. Hey everyone, it's been a while, and a lot of unbelievable things have happened since the last time I was here. I just wanted to give you all an update. I'm sorry if this gets long, but I really needed to vent and put everything out there. I'll start by saying humans are scary, and friends can be the scariest of them all. The word friend feels simple, reassuring, yet it can also be a hidden threat. A single misstep can shatter a bond that appears unbreakable and would leave no warning signs. I never imagined that one person, someone I considered a friend, could cause me to lose everything. Now I'm trapped, and it is like I'm surrounded by towering walls with no visible exit or window to offer any hope of surviving. I'm suffocating, with no one to blame but myself. I let her into my life, and that moment marked the beginning of my downfall. I was blinded by trust and was unable to see the disaster coming. I wish I had the gift or ability to look into the future. Just maybe then, I would have been able to see through everything, and I wouldn't be stuck here right now. I was here before to ask for help on how to work things out with my fiancé, but today I'm here again because I don't know if it will ever be possible for me to make everything right again. I met my fiancé, Peter, 4 days back after he had abruptly disappeared and left me hanging with no words. The day I saw him again was on the day we were supposed to get married. The day we were supposed to exchange our vows at the altar in front of our families and everyone. But it turned out to be the day he completely put a full stop to our incomplete story and shut the door on everything. He had abruptly disappeared without a word last week, only to show up 4 days back at the hotel we were supposed to have our wedding party at. I had gone there to have one last look and give myself some sort of comfort, as I thought Peter had just gotten tired of me and maybe left me for another woman. Only for it to be something not even close to what I had imagined. I never thought that one party, that one night I decided to go crazy, would turn out to be a stepping stone to my end. An end to the beginning of a future I never had the chance to build or live in. Now I just live the rest of my days asking myself if things would have been any different if I had not gone to that party. I keep regretting everything, but it gets more and more depressing because I know there's really nothing else I can do to change anything. Peter has always been a man of his word. If he says it's over and that he doesn't need someone like me anymore, I know he means it. I had told myself maybe it was just a prank and everything would go back to normal, but all that delusion came to an end when Peter walked out on me at the hotel after dropping the bomb. It's so sad, because when I bumped into Peter again at the hotel, I was so happy and had told myself it was destiny and we were really meant for each other, only for him to ignore me and walk away. I hurried after him and grabbed his hands, yelling and demanding answers from him. I was already tearing up. I don't know if it was because I was relieved to see him again after the day he suddenly disappeared on me, or if it was due to the fact that I was angry, but all I know is that I was yelling and throwing feeble punches at him. I asked him why he suddenly left me that night without a word, and I demanded answers from him. He asked me if I was just dumb or if I was pretending to be dumb. Hearing those words from his mouth felt like a stone hit me in the chest. He continued his words by asking me what I was expecting was going to happen when I let myself get loose and make out with everyone at the party, all in the name of fun. My heart thudded the moment the word party came out of his mouth. How on earth did Peter know about that night? It was just supposed to be a one-night outing with me and my girlfriends, and not even Peter's friends knew about it. I asked him what he was talking about, just to be sure I had not heard things wrongly, but then he yelled at me, saying I should be ashamed of myself. I was getting married in just a week, and I had already started displaying my true colors. He said he couldn't believe I was the lady in the video when my friend Jessica sent it to him. He had been dating me for 3 good years, but after seeing that video, he felt like he knew nothing about me. Hearing the name Jessica from his mouth left me speechless, and I just stood rooted to the spot. I got chills all over my body, and my legs felt weak. I just couldn't do anything. I convinced myself I heard everything wrongly and asked Peter who he said had sent him the video again, and he told me it was Jessica, one of my so-called best friends. He furiously took out his phone and showed me the video. The chaotic party we had that night had been recorded and posted online by Jessica, and she had shared the video with Peter. I couldn't say anything. All I could do was stare at the video, watching myself scream, dance, and go crazy like the world was ending that night. In the video, I had completely lost it. It didn't look like anything would ever be able to stop me. I remembered both the things I could recall and the unbelievable stuff I'd completely forgotten due to my drunken state and hangover. I myself couldn't believe I was actually the one in the video. I had taken the lead in entertaining my friend and had done a lot of grand shows and embarrassing performances for not just my friends but for everyone in the clubhouse that night. I had really gone all in, and I had crossed the line. I'm such an embarrassment, and I couldn't even look Peter in the eyes anymore. I just stuck my head and eyes on the phone screen as I couldn't find the right words to get myself out of the situation and save my relationship. At the time, I thought I could just fall to my knees and start begging Peter. The highlight of that night came up, and I saw myself dancing and making out with the club owner. I was so shocked that even my brain shut down, and the memories that kept unraveling from that night ceased. I couldn't remember getting touched and being that intimate with anyone. If I had not seen the video, and if someone said that to my face, I'd deny it, saying it wasn't me. I was dancing and flirting with the club owner, and my friends were cheering us on and feeding me more booze, and it made me get wilder. I couldn't bear to watch it anymore. I was so stunned that I didn't realize when the phone dropped from my hands. I started hyperventilating, and I felt like I was going to lose my mind. Tears were flowing out of my eyes nonstop, and I didn't know what to do anymore. Peter told me if I was feeling that way, then I'd be able to understand how hurt he felt when he saw everything. He said I was an embarrassment to him, and he regrets that he wasted 3 years of his life with someone like me. I dropped to my knees, and the only words that could come out of me were the words, "I'm sorry." I couldn't do anything or say anything other than those words while I kept crying. I kept begging even though I knew it was hopeless. Considering Peter's personality, it was almost impossible for him to forgive or accept me back into his life, but something in me kept clinging on to that little hope that he just might look at me again. Peter was a perfectionist and had 0 tolerance for betrayal. So with everything, it was obvious I had really disappointed him, and there was no forgiveness for this. I kept pleading that it was just a mistake, swearing I would never let such a thing happen again. Peter told me it was a great step and decision to make. He said if I wanted to make it work, I should start by cutting off unnecessary friends. That way, if I'm ever lucky enough to find someone new, I won't lose them because of my friends. He confessed that Jessica had been trying endlessly to get his attention, and she had finally succeeded in separating us, and it's all thanks to me. He didn't forget to tell me that even though my friend was not a good person, it was all my fault because I made that decision for myself. No one forced me, and I chose to let my friends influence me. He said he wished me nothing but the best, and just like that, he walked away. I could feel my world falling apart with every step he took, and the more distance grew between us, the harder it became to breathe. With rage, I hurried home, and I slapped Jessica in front of all my friends. Despite slapping her, the anger in me was still intensifying, and I couldn't stop myself. How on earth can someone be this evil? She's the reason I lost Peter, yet she was the same Jessica that stayed beside me along with the others to comfort me. How could I let the person who caused my pain be the one to try and heal it? My friends stood shocked when I revealed the betrayal for them to see. Fiona couldn't control it and also slapped Jessica. Jessica showed no remorse as she stood there laughing like a mad woman. Esther dropped to the floor. She looked terrified as she realized the direction everything was headed. Diana grabbed Jessica on her blouse, and the question she asked got me weak on both feet. She asked Jessica if she had not seriously moved on and given up on her feelings for Peter. Hearing that almost killed me, and I started tearing up. Diana confessed she had always known about Jessica's feelings for Peter, but she never imagined she would go this far. Jessica screamed, saying we should all stop acting like saints. She said even though they lied to themselves at some point, they must have been jealous about me getting married, and how I always seemed to brag about it at every little chance I had. She told me to my face that I only deserved everything. She strongly said I stole Peter from her. She had taken me along on a blind date with Peter and his friend. Peter was supposed to be her partner, but he showed more interest in me and not her. After that date, he started courting me, and I accepted him, not caring about how she was going to feel about it. She said I was selfish, and she hated my guts. She confessed she had tried so hard to get Peter to like her and leave me for her instead. But no, it wasn't working. Instead, he proposed to me and in her presence at that. She said the moment he did that in front of her, she knew he was giving her a message that he would never be hers, and that's when she decided that if she couldn't have Peter, then none of us would, and she's so thrilled that it happened. She said I never deserved Peter in the first place, and that everything I had, especially Peter's house, where we were staying, should have been hers. Sandra lost it and slapped her too, and called her a pathetic mess, and she just smiled in response, saying this was the end of the fake friendship we had. And just like that, she walked out on us. Diana kept apologizing, and the room was filled with sobs, and no one could console anyone. I got to my feet, grabbed a few things, including my car keys, and left the house. I returned to living in the old apartment I was staying in before moving in to live with Peter after he had proposed to me. I shed tears of regret every day, wishing I could just start all over and delete Jessica out of my past so she could never be part of my present. I have nothing else left, and I've lost everything, including the nightmare I once called friendship. Now I have nothing but emptiness, tears, and regrets left. I cannot forgive myself, and I don't know how else to move on. Is this really my life? I often cry myself to sleep, hoping that when I wake up, it will all have been just a bad dream. But every time reality hits me in the face, and I'm forced to confront the fact that this is my new life now. I'm torn between accepting it and holding on to the hope that it's all just some cruel illusion. I feel like I'm about to lose my mind as I keep lying to myself that this isn't true. If only I could travel back in time to 4 or 5 years ago, I'd do it in a heartbeat no matter what happens, just to get away from the toxic friendship that Jessica was. But that's just fantasy. Deep down, I know that's impossible. And what's done is done. If only I could solve anything, I'd do anything to have Peter back by my side right now. I've cried so much, I'm surprised I still have tears left. If crying would solve anything, Peter would be here with me right now. It's been a while since I last spoke to Diana, Esther, and Fiona. Sandra has been trying to reach out to me, but I just can't bring myself to respond to her calls and messages. Now, I'm just trying to see how I can fix the pieces of my broken life back together and face life as it goes. I've learned the hard way, and now I have tasted the truth behind the saying that friends are not to be trusted, and a thing like true friendship never existed.